Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome back to the Easy Do-It-Yourself Landscaping channel, where we give you step-by-step instructions on how to install and maintain beautiful landscaping and gardening projects in your yard. If you like that kind of content, please be sure and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. In this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about some previous projects that I've done and give you some pointers on how I did them and give you some before and after pictures. So let's get started on that. And I'm in the studio today, so I'm going to be clicking on my computer and pulling up these pictures for you. So just stand by with that. Okay, so the first house is going to be one that I did down in Florida a couple of decades ago. I've been doing do-it-yourself landscaping for over 30 years now. I do all the work myself with just hand tools. I don't have any heavy equipment or anything like that. Just a couple of shovels, couple of rakes, and just a lot of imagination. And I get out there and have fun with it. And the results are really beautiful, and it's fun doing it. So it's just a win-win all the way around when you're doing your own landscaping. But let me talk about this one. So this is a house that I bought in Florida, and this is what it looks like when I bought it originally. As you can see, it's nothing but just solid sand, few weeds in the yard, and no plants or anything. I mean, just as plain as can be. There was a little small dead bush over to the right of the garage door that looked really bad. That was just totally, needed a lot of work done on it. But everything else was just sand and weeds. As a matter of fact, when you dug down, it was really beach sand, because when you dug down a foot or so, you started digging up shells. In most yards, people dig up sticks or rocks. In this yard, I was digging up shells when I got down low. So that was the before picture. And then when I got done with it, there's no we about it since I do all the work myself. That's what it ended up looking like. I knew that I wanted to do rocks, and I wanted to do mulch. I didn't want to have to mess with trying to grow any kind of grass in that sand, because you just can't do it. So I wanted rocks and mulch. So that's what it ended up looking like. I also put in a lot of palm trees. To the right of the driveway, I put in big, large oleander bushes with hot pink flowers on them. That turned out great. Unfortunately, those can only grow in growing zone number 8 or higher. 7 and down to 1, forget it, because the winters would kill them. But down in Florida, I could have them, so that worked out great. And so I had a number of different palms in the yard. By the mailbox, I put in some flowers up there, and that's what it turned out looking like. I was pretty pleased with it, considering what I started with. And during the project, I ended up putting down a couple of different types of weed barrier fabric. I got some heavy-duty weed barrier fabric at the rock store, because the rocks are sharp enough to where they would kind of cut through. Eventually, they would cut through the kind that you get at Lowe's or someplace like that, even if you get the professional grade, which I always try to get. So I ended up getting some really heavy-duty weed barrier fabric that I put down in the rock area. And I also put in some edging to hold the rocks in place, just some flexible plastic edging that just nailed down into the sand. As you can see, and I always suggest, I'd already planted all the palms first, because you don't want to plant any plant that's bigger than a 5-gallon container that it comes in from the nursery after you've done your weed barrier. You want to put that down first and then do your weed barrier around it, because it takes too big of a hole. So anything 5 gallons and below, it's okay to plant those, and then plant those after you do your weed barrier. But in this case, I already got my plants in place, and I got the heavy duty weed barrier down. If you notice up by the road, there's a little square that's a little darker color. That's because I put an extra layer of it up there, because that's where they dumped the 2 truckloads of rocks that I ordered. And once those were in place, and I just took a hard rake and just spread them out to a depth of about 3 inches deep, And yeah, so it turned out great. And then in the areas around that, the sand, I put down the standard weed barrier, standard either professional or premier weed barrier. And then I put in 95 bags of dark brown mulch, all in that area. And so we ended up going from this to this. So I think it turned out pretty good. The next house that I did was back up in Georgia. And when this house was purchased, it had no yard at all, really. The grass was in terrible shape. It was a lot of dirt, a lot of mud, no plants. I mean, it was just really plain, totally plain yard. But like I always do, when I look at it, I get an idea on what I want to do for landscaping immediately. And so I got to work on it and turned it from that into that. And basically, what I did for that was I planted a lot of lilies. I knew I wanted a lot of flowers in the yard. I always liked those, so I did a lot of lilies, especially up front. There were some purple ones mixed in with the yellow, and they hadn't come out yet when this picture was taken, because this was a little bit earlier in the season, and the purple ones came out later in the season. And then I planted a tree in the middle with lilies and azaleas around that. I did a line of lilies down the driveway, and then up by the house I did some orange or some yellow bushes and some lilies up there. So I knew I didn't want anything that was going to grow real big because I didn't want to block that big, nice bay window. So I planted some low-growing hedges up there. And then you notice I planted a tree in the middle of the yard. Now, a couple things about trees. When you plant those in your yard, you need to keep a couple things in mind. First off, if you have a septic tank system, you want to make sure that you plant those trees at least 30 feet away from the septic tank or any field lines, because root systems can damage those, and you don't want to have a big expense for those. Some of the trees that will really mess you up on that are like willows, poplars, beeches, elms, fig trees, fruit trees. Fruit trees are really bad about that. So you want to make sure that you get those at least 30 feet, and if you can, about 50 feet away from any of the field lines or any of the septic tank system. Now, good trees that you can plant in your yard that really don't cause you that much damage, you still want to try to keep them at least 30 feet away. But dogwood trees, cherry trees, because they have shallow root systems and they won't get down into the septic tank system and mess it up so much. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you plant trees in the yard. And this is a view of the yard from the front porch looking back toward the street. So you can see some of those low hedges that I planted. You can see some of the different colors of the lilies and things like that. And then I did some roses up by the front left corner. So that's what that yard looked like. And then on the side yard of that, it was real plain also. So that's what it looked like when I did it, or when I bought it. Totally plain, nothing over there. And then this is what it looked like when I got done with it. There again, I put a red maple in the middle of the yard with a little bed around it with lilies and azaleas. At the front, I did some different color lilies. These aren't really bloomed out in this picture, but they bloomed in yellow and oranges. And then I did a big pampas grass right up at the front corner with the big pom-pom sticking out of it. So yeah, that's basically what that yard looked like when I got done, and when I bought it, and then when I got done with it. So it turned out pretty good. So it's really fun to do that. It really beautifies your yard, makes you really stand out in the neighborhood, and yeah, it's this do-it-yourself landscaping is a win-win all the way around. So we would love to hear from you. Please send us a comment if you have any questions, or if you like this content. Be sure and like the video for us. It really helps us out a lot. And be sure and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos, because we love doing do-it-yourself landscaping. I love talking about doing it, and helping others beautify their yards. So until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.